Many people have problems with art and not with reality.
So why is art different?
It's pretty simple, right?
This is knowledge, this is thinking, this is thought.
Yeah, it does something strange with your head.
Welcome to the Undergang Armchair.
Bring it.
Welcome to the Undergang Armchair. My name is Ando. How is everybody? Are you guys getting ready to celebrate Easter by listening to some old Bill Hicks albums? The late great comedian Bill Hicks. He has a couple choice words to say about Easter. Anyways, it's a busy time here at the headquarters. We got a lot of big changes coming up. But more importantly, today's show is the first one ever featuring an art collector. A real deal art collector. And it's a really good one. Yes, sir. Jens Peter Brask came by. Collector extraordinaire. And he told us about how and why he collects art. I found it really interesting. We'll be able to get to that in just a second because I really don't have an idea about what's going on out there right now. Yeah, I'm building myself a new studio, and by God, I'm doing it right this time. You know, you can only get by on bullshit for so long. So it's expensive and it's an exceptional amount of work, but yes, oh yes, it's going to be good when I'm done. I guess that makes me a grown-up now. But I did see one thing. Have you guys seen this? There's an event at Kunsthal Aarhus, which you probably remember recently got former guest of the show, Jakob Fabricius, as their artistic director, those lucky, lucky dogs. Anyways, it's called Mastering the Art of Contemporary Art, and they built a TV kitchen inside the space, and they're holding performances there. I've just seen some pictures and some video, but the premise is amazing and it looks amazing. It's such a cool idea. There's audience lined up like it's a TV taping. It just looks really, really cool. So I don't know if I'll be able to make it over there to Aarhus because of the aforementioned studio I'm building, but you definitely should. It looks really, really, really good. And of course, there'll be a link in the show notes for this episode. Go check it out. That's it. Please enjoy my talk with graffiti artist, collector, and one hell of a nice guy, Jens Peter Brask, and have yourself a happy, happy Easter. But yeah, the restaurant business is, are you happy to be out of it?
Of course, you will always miss it when you have been there for 14 years. It's like a horse. You can always smell the circus around the corner, right? So it's...
Yeah. Are you a cook? Is that your background?
No. I can't cook at all.
Why? So, what was it that brought you into opening a restaurant?
It was just a coincidence. A friend opened up something and I joined him, and later we opened a nightclub together, and then it was just, from that time it has been growing.
Yeah. Getting, I mean, it's a lifestyle, right? Doing that thing. I just remember that the whole like working late, sleeping late, getting up, buying the food or doing whatever business needs to be done in the afternoon, and then it starts again, you know, and every night it's just that slow build up and then slow. It takes a lot of energy.
Yeah. A lot of energy, a lot of time, and it's pretty hard.
Yeah. Where does art fit in?
Art fit in because if you're doing the restaurant business, then it's kind of, you're not getting very clever. Don't get me wrong. To serve beers, make cafe lattes, serve food. It's very nice and it's inconvenient, but it's not like something like when you go at work, it's like, okay, today I have to make like 300 draft beers or 200 lattes or open fine bottles of wine, whatever. It's not like I'm getting something out of it.
It's a different kind of stimulation. You know, like you just don't have that. I don't know. It's very one-sided, I guess, you know, because you're always talking about business. You're always talking about the world you're in.
Yep. But it is, you know, it is what it is. So it's very nice, but it's not like I feel like I'm getting clever. I'm learning something new every day, you know.
Well, let's go back. Where You're the first collector we've ever had on the show, and it's something I've been interested in a long time because it's an important role in the art world, which I think is not discussed very often. You know, in the U.S., there's a lot about like collectors keep the market afloat, and you know, there's so little public funding for art in the U.S., so collectors play more. But here, there isn't. I don't feel like collectors. I don't feel like they occupy the same role. I don't want to say they don't have respect, but they don't occupy the same role here outside of the gallery world. You know, maybe a gallery has a specific relationship to a collector, but other than that, they don't have much influence. But maybe I shouldn't say that. What do you think? Do you think that there is like, what do you think the role of a collector is in Denmark?
Of course, it's something different from the States, because in the States people have like tons of more money and they can build their own museum, and there's some other things with tax and art and stuff like that. But I still think collectors in Denmark are quite huge and have a really big knowledge about what goes on the market, not just like they just buy. A lot of times, you know, people buy stuff like long time before the museum. Last Saturday, I went to the opening at Salon Dios, Live Dios, another collector.
Yeah, he's a big one.
Exactly, had a show at Mongrupphus, and in his speech, he's talked about that he bought William Kendrick's 17 years ago, and now Luciana bought it, and it was like, okay, he bought it 17 years ago. It's like a decade,
right?
So the collectors can still buy and get stuff when they want and when they feel like, and the museums keep saying like they have to be like a huge name before they can buy it, because if they have it in the collection, they can't get rid of it. It's a part of the law, you know, in the Danish law with museums. If they buy something, they can't sell it. They have to have it forever.
Really?
Yeah, it's true in the museum.
So they have tons of artwork that nobody cares about that...
Some probably have, yeah.
I mean, I imagine you can't make the right purchase every time, right?
If you buy 17 years later, like when we're talking about William Kendrick, then it's, of course, then you're like, he's not just a rising star.
Then it's safer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I still think like a lot of them buy like way too late and they don't have any chances.
Well, if you think about, collectors are probably the only people with purchasing power who don't have to answer to anybody.
Of course, we don't have to answer to anybody. Somebody have to answer to the wife, you know. But that's another story.
Okay, agreed.
Then it's like because they don't have the shoes on home, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But no, we don't have to answer to anybody. But still, you know, I also think the museums, they shouldn't answer. You know, if somebody is hired to buy art, then the boarder or who else they have to report to have to listen to them and say, yes, of course, you buy that piece and you bought that piece because it's a great piece. You believe in the artist. So sometimes we also have to believe in people if we hire them to do a job.
Right. But that's, you know, there's always going to be arguments about that, especially in the context of a board versus a single buyer, you know.
Of course.
There's a lot of power plays, a lot of politics, etc.
Yeah, but still, you know, we have to as well to support, like, if the museums, they support, like, the Danish art scene or the Danish galleries.
Yeah.
So if Peter Doig have a solo show in Copenhagen, it's probably not going to happen now, but if he had, at that time, of course, the Danish museum should support the Danish galleries and buy the pieces from a Danish gallery.
Right.
Not buy it from overseas.
Right, buy it from an auction somewhere else at some point.
Of course, if it's one piece they specific want and it's on auction, they will get it.
Yeah. Well, where does it start for you? What's your background? Do you have any history as a practicing artist?
I used to do a lot of graffiti in the mid 80s. And,
that's the entry point.
Yeah, and then I did graffiti from 86 to 93, and then I stopped. And then in 2007, I came back. I needed like 14 years to have a break, and I came back.
Breaks are good.
Breaks are good, and you know, you come in fresh, and you don't know what happened for 14 years, and then you're in the game again.
Yeah, well, I mean, the narrative doesn't matter anymore at that point. You get to do whatever you want. You're free, you know.
Yeah, and graffiti for me is still like, it's a time I can take off and I can paint, and I'm not a great artist and I'm never going to be it, and I don't have that I should be, and it's not my plan that I want to be an artist, but I really enjoy to take some hours off with friends and paint on a legal fence, legal wall, whatever, and just chill and take it easy, and
but better than going and getting drunk somewhere and just talking, or...
Yeah, after 2 a.m. then nothing is going to happen out in the nightlife.
Yeah. Was it hip-hop music that brought you to graffiti, or was it...
I listen a little bit to Run DMC, Public Enemy, Beastie Boys, but I've always more been into like heavy metal, so not really hip-hop music. It was part, and still it's a part of the culture, but it have never really been my game to listen to hip-hop music.
A previous guest on the show told me that the public TV station here at sometime in the 80s played the PBS documentary about graffiti. What's it called? Is it Wild Style?
Wild Style, yes.
Yeah, which is a great movie.
Style Wars.
And Style Wars. That's what I'm thinking of, is Style Wars. That's a great movie. But that happened, and then overnight here in Denmark, everyone was like, "What? What is this?" Did that happen to you? Did you see that, and that where you caught it?
I saw it, but that was in 85, and I started in 86, so I was a little later. But of course, it became from everybody saw it and so on, so that was a part of the game. But no, I saw it later, and then I was like, okay, I needed to start, and I started I think in the end of 86, and then in 87, and from that on I was like active and did a lot of graffiti.
What brought you off the streets and into the gallery?
I started my own business, and then it was like time to say, now I have employees and I have a responsibility.
Now I can't get arrested for vandalism.
Exactly, and I have to tell my employees that they have to be 10 o'clock. So I think it was like a natural step that I need to grow up and said, okay. Not that I think it's childish in any way to paint graffiti. I love it and I still do, but I needed to say, okay, now I have to focus on the business, not my...
That's a question of responsibility and what price you're willing to pay, right?
Exactly, and I wanted to work like really, really, really full time on my business. So I didn't have the time as well. So it was like, I think it just like slowly like faded out, and
It makes sense. I mean, also graffiti has changed tremendously in those years. At one point, it was just vandalism in the public eye. There was never any, or at least there wasn't at that point, except for a select few people who saw it as art. They saw it as defacing public property or private property. And now it has also migrated into an arts context, a public arts context, a gallery arts context, all those. But, people forget that in the late 80s, early to 90s, that was the case. It was not ever really seen as being a proper thing to do.
No. I agree. But now it's like, some of the early graffiti artists like Futur, seeing all these guys, Blade, Lee, they really live off doing graffiti, and a lot of graffiti artists turned into like artists.
Sure, Hussein now made the jump real well. He does everything.
Yeah, we could say Kors, we could say Banksy, Matsy, a lot of great graffiti artists turned into a great artist.
Sure, Twist.
Crash, all these Bio, Tats, all Tats crew, there's tons of names, who really, and still do, graffiti and do the art and try to make to make graffiti and art work together really well.
Well, did you kind of go into galleries and that part of the art world via graffiti? Something like V1 Gallery, which worked more on, especially back in the day, more on graffiti style street art.
I started to buy in 93, and We1 is from 2002 or 2003, earlier, yeah. So that was 10 years before We1, but I've been supporting We1 from day one. I don't think I know that I bought the first piece they ever sold, so and I bought like a couple of pieces from them since that time. So yeah. I got, from We1, I bought very early Futura, Banksy, Shepard Fairey, right. All what they had, like all these guys. So yeah, I've been supporting, but when I started in 93, it was Michael Kvium, Christian Lemmertz, Martin Bigum, Balder Ulrich, some of our Danish really good artists.
Balder Ulrich just came back, I saw.
Exactly, he made a beautiful show. I think it ended last week at Martin Asbeck.
But he'd also been gone for 15 years or something like that, hadn't he?
Yeah, I think like 10 years-ish.
Yeah.
But he used to paint, and then he started to do work with photo and did some manipulation, and now it's photo and manipulation again.
So in 1993, what did it look like out there? There was a lot less galleries at that point.
Yeah, maybe like 10.
Asbeck family.
Asbeck was there, Favreskov was there.
Oh, right.
Nikolaj Wagner was also...
That was his old space in the basement, right?
Yeah, in Store Kongensgade. Yeah. Maybe that was in 95. I can't really remember. But, it's of course, there was a couple of less galleries, but that was also at that time a high quality of the gallery in Copenhagen.
Okay, because I've heard people talk about it was very limited at that time. Not that they weren't good, but that there was less variation. You didn't have the choice you have nowadays.
Of course you have a bigger choice now, but still I think the variation and the choices were still really good at that time.
Yeah. Well, it's all a question of how much you're paying attention, I guess. If you're everywhere and seeing what everybody's doing, then there's more options.
Of course, and when you know the gallery, it's easier to look fast what they have. Like when you didn't know so much, then you had to look more into everything to see what they were doing, comparing to what you're doing now, because the gallery, the artist. So you can do it faster now than you could at that time.
Right, absolutely.
Because you didn't know the artist and you probably didn't know all the gallery, so it was like a bigger work to put into it.
Right, there's more separation, higher fences between the parts.
I wouldn't say fences, but you still have to, when you know the gallery and like these artists, and then if they have a solo show, that artist that you have seen like one or two shows with the artist, the artist's works, the CV, what goes on. Yeah. At that time, you have to look into everything, and you didn't know the artist, so you used more time and look into everything than you do now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and I imagine the nature of it's changed a lot with the internet, of course, which everybody's talked to death, that idea, but it is true that there's a lot more. There's a lot more, whatever you want to say, access, or at least some sort of illusion of access.
That is, and yeah, of course, it's the internet, and then like blogs came, and websites, and Twitter, Facebook, and
Instagram's a big one. Yeah,
Instagram, and I have never been really good about writing, and I don't really care about writing. For me, it was like the picture to see it and do it. So when Twitter came, I tried to be on it. I still think I'm on it. I never use it. I have no idea my access code, my name, or anything. And then Instagram came, and from the beginning I was like, fuck, this is great, because it's a picture, so it's so easy, and all the artists, they love it because it's not complicated. Everybody can just take the smartphone, bang, it's up from the studio. This is what I'm doing now, and you get the feedback straight away. You get the feedback as well on Twitter, but it's more about talking about here's a picture, and art, you have to see it.
Yeah.
Like in real life. Of course, it's not in real life when it's on a tablet, computer, smartphone, whatever. You still like have an idea what it is.
It's real time in a way, also.
Yeah,
and I'm working on right now.
And you feel like you actually know the artist or are close to the artist. If it's a studio shot and it's taken right now, we could be sitting here at Nørrebro, and an artist from down under New York, LA, whatever. can post a picture now and we can see it like a second later. The blogs was like, take a picture with your camera, go home, put the pictures in, get the time to upload it, make the codes right, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't as fast, as smooth like Instagram and Twitter for me with the artist. Never worked.
Yeah.
So it's really good. And, the artist and the galleries also use it a lot to see like about shows, sneak previews, go visit the artist in the studio. So there's really a lot about it.
You make me want to get an Instagram account.
I love it. It's the best. It's amazing for art. And, if you want to watch any rock stars as well, they are pretty good as well. And it's like, you can also see the video, and some of the artists is like in their house, so you also feel like, actually, I know that person.
Right. Oh, there's their cat.
That's a very, very, very funny story. I am a huge Formula One fan, and I'm not a fan of Lewis Hamilton. It's not personal, but,
He's just not your guy.
No, I'm for Ferrari, so he's not. And then somebody told me, like, yeah, go and look at him, and I saw him, and he's just, he's posting his dog. He's posting if he goes to a fashion show, and he's actually really good at it. So it's really funny, and actually I feel like I know him. And then last week I went to Barcelona to see the Formula One test, and I saw him, and I was just like, hey, how are you? It's just like I've seen him so much on Instagram. So
like, oh, we're buddies.
Exactly. I was like, and after I was like, who the fuck? Of course you don't know who I was. But I was like, I just thought he was my friend because I've seen him so much. So it can be a little scary. Like,
it is weird. Those boundaries kind of become a little more blurry.
But he just said hello, and then he of course walked by, and I smiled to him, and it was really funny because
I'm sure that happens all the time for someone like that because a lot of people probably feel that access, and then
of course everybody thinks that they know them, and I wasn't like a stalker. It wasn't like I just said, hey, how are you, and moved on.
Say hi to your wife for me.
I think he's single, so no, I did not.
Yeah. But what happened? Tell me. You said you started in '93.
Yeah.
Was it an accident, or did you wake up one day and said, God damn it, I want to build an art collection, or,
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think like it was a coincidence, and then when you start to collect,
you get that rush.
You get the rush, and I think like if you have the collector inside you, it could be like stamps, stickers, books, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I used to collect actually both stamp and stickers. And then you also grow up, not to say if you collect stamp or stickers that you're not growing up, but
it changes.
It changes, and I had my time with that, and I actually still have my collection of stamps and stickers. It's not huge. It's like a moving box with each of them, and I still keep them as a souvenir, as like a part of my, before I started to collect art. So it's a part of the collection, but it's not like the art collection, it's the collection of stamps and stickers. And then I moved on, and then I started to collect. And of course, in the beginning, you bought a painting, took it home, put it on the wall, and then at once time, then there's no wall space anymore, and then you start to take something down, put something new up, and then
it's serious.
Then you move, and then you get a bigger house, bigger apartment, then there's more walls, and then you move again, and then you move up, and then at once you need like a massive house to put all the artwork in. So, and then you need I need a storage. And then it's when you have a storage with your art, then this is like the line where it's getting sick.
Yeah. This is now at the point where it's, I have to hire people to help me manage it.
There's no return now. It's like, okay, I can't just, of course you can stop collecting, but then, you have to start to get things out of the collection.
Well, it kind of reminds me, I was thinking about graffiti, especially back in the day, how everyone had their flick book and they would show it to each other. And it was a little bit like a stamp collection in a weird way. You'd be like, check out what I have, these precious objects which showed something which obviously you weren't collecting objects, but you had this intimate thing which you showed and shared and talked about. And that kind of seems in a way parallel to me to a stamp collection, for example, or something like that.
Yeah, as a graffiti artist, you have in Denmark, we call it a black book. In the States, they call it a sketchbook. And it's basically a book where you have all your pieces, all your paintings you have done in that book. So it's like a souvenir book. It's like a treasure. It's like, look what I have done book.
Yeah. And people would always share them and talk about it and, oh, check this out. And
yeah, but the guys who really hit the trains hard, of course, they don't walk around the street with the book. It would be very easy for the police just to knock on the shoulder and say, can you come with me and take the book? And it's the evidence for all the things that they have done. So yeah, but of course it's the book about what you have been doing. So it's quite big because you can see all the pieces. You can see everything.
What was the first piece you bought? Do you remember?
Yeah, in '93 it was a Michael Queam piece I bought in at that time.
That's a big place to start.
Yeah, I felt like I liked it, and then it was like, just do it.
Was it spur of the moment? You didn't plan it?
No, I didn't really plan it. Actually, I had to go for my brother to. I should go and buy a piece from him at that exhibition, and I ended up buying one as well for myself. And then it was like, I started.
Your brother got you into it, or at least he was the impetus for being.
He asked me to go and buy a piece to him at that show. At that time he was living in London, and I was like, yeah. I did it, and then I also got a piece, and then it just like started from that time.
Did you get a little bump from it? Did you feel just like, ooh,
yeah,
it's a nice feeling?
It was a nice feeling, and at that time I couldn't afford to buy it, so I was like, okay, when I need to pay it, I need to work out how I do it. So it was
right, which makes it a little more dangerous, a little
exactly
more transgressive.
Yeah, of course.
I shouldn't do this, but oh, what a rush!
Whatever, let's do it. It's the same like when you when we were younger and you did crime graffiti and you had to jump a fence or whatever, and then it was like
right.
it was the rush. It was like the same rush to buy it. It still can be if there's a piece you have been looking for a long time, and then you find it and then you buy it. Then it's like also like that, like
right, the thrill of the hunt and
conquer. Like I need that piece.
Yeah. Do you see any so now you've been at it for a while, you have a storage space. How many pieces do you own? Do you know?
I think like more than 500.
Okay. That's pretty good.
That's all right.
I was afraid you'd be like, I have 20,000 artworks.
I doubt anybody in Denmark have so many pieces.
Yeah. But do you follow any sort of plan? Do you have a vision for your collection? Do you look at it as like a legacy thing, like the JP Brask collection, or do you is it more like, oh, I like that, that's fun, or I like that person, or
I just have to like the art piece, then it's.
And of course, a natural thing your tastes will have some sort of order. People probably on the outside would be able to see some sort of rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, of course. There's a line in everything. Of course, if you have like a ceramic and you have a neon piece, then there's like a little in between. But you can still, even if you take all the pieces and put them together, you can see it works together.
Yeah.
But maybe not just like from one piece to another. It have to be the connection in between to see how it works. But there's an idea But basically, I just have to like the art piece, then I buy it. There's no, it don't have to be further than that or anything else.
Right. Like I was saying, you don't have to answer anyone except for maybe someone at home.
I don't have to answer anybody. If I like it, I buy it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Is it based also off of your relationship to the artist or the gallery, or is it strictly between you and the artwork?
Of course, if you know a gallery very well and they come and say, look at this, and then if you like it, that's what a good gallerist or art dealer is, that they have to tell you about new pieces,
Right, and you get some sort of access, perhaps, that not everyone would have. They might go to you first with something new because they know you might appreciate it.
You can be lucky if you know the gallery very well. They can do it, yes.
Yeah.
But also, it's today. It's like it's not so often that I really get like, I've never heard about that artist or never seen it, and then you see it, it's like, wow, you always know something about it, and if not, it might be an artist who have told you about that artist, so you have seen or look online or Instagram, whatever, and you know something about it.
Do you spend a lot of time researching, or not researching, but paying attention, looking around?
I do. I use a lot of time, but I can also use time if I have to go to somewhere, if I'm too early or traffic or waiting or something. I just take your phone, look at it, and then when you have the meeting or something else, just go on. I had a meeting yesterday and she was 15 minutes late, and I just had time to reply some emails, and I was looking Instagram, hashtags, whatever, and then she came, put the phone away and into the meeting. So you can always also use it when you have time to it. It's not like I'm saying, okay, from 12 to 1 today, I have to sit down and look at it, and do it when I have the time, when I walk up the street.
Right. Well, that's that access we were talking about earlier. You can just, like you say, 15 minutes, great. What's up with this? And just poke around in a little corner and then come back later.
Exactly. When I was painting graffiti, there was like no internet, and when you have to show pieces or something to somebody, you have to take a photo, then you have to go down and get it made, and then you have to show it. It was like, of course you could get it made in some hours, and pay for it. But
pay out, yes, right.
But it was something else,
I remember the days of when you applied for stuff, you had to send slides. The photographing of the artwork was a huge deal. And, I still have stacks of hundreds of slides of terrible artworks I made 15 years ago,
Exactly. I remember, like you said, the galleries was sending them out.
Yeah.
Was sending to the States, had to take the photo, have to make it, have to mail it, somebody have to open it, look at it. It could take months, where now it's like 5 seconds later.
Yeah. That's handy. I do like that you have that sort of immediate...
Yeah, you don't waste any time.
Yeah, because Jesus Christ, man, all that, and people didn't know how to photograph, so you had to fuck it up a couple of times, and, oh boy.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah. Is your collection mostly Danish artists, or does that follow any sort of...
No, it's everything.
Yeah.
A lot of Danish artists, but a lot of artists from the States, really a lot. Of course, it's important to support the local art and the local galleries, but of course it have to be quality as well, so you don't have just to support. It have to be good.
It'd be limited if you only could work out of Denmark.
Exactly, and but also, as we talked about, a lot of the Danish galleries, the quality is so good, so they get artists with a huge quality in the gallery, so you can actually buy artists from other countries with a really talent or huge artist in Danish gallery. And of course you have to try to, as much as possible, to support the Danish galleries instead of buying a piece somewhere else out of the country.
As a person who didn't grow up here, I'm pretty impressed by the Danish art scene, because the city is not so big. If you talk about other world cities, about 1 million people. So let's say Lyon, France. I think it's about 1 million people, same size. But Copenhagen has a much bigger and much richer art scene. And that has to do with it being the capital, etc. What else do you think does that?
But I just think that the galleries have been good of education and getting people to look at art, and we have a lot of really good museums. But also, if you look like a city like Aarhus, they still have 4 or 5 really good galleries, and they have Aarhus, so it's
a great museum.
It's one of the best, so it's amazing still, not only the capital, but other cities in Denmark as well can do it, because everybody looks okay, what is the main city doing? If you look at the States, then it's New York, New York, New York, LA, and then it's
and fuck you, Chicago.
Detroit. Even if the States have, or New York, or US have 50 states, then it's mainly New York, LA, and of course Philadelphia, Washington, Detroit, blah, blah,
Miami,
blah, blah.
a little bit.
Yeah, but Miami have the art fair. It's not really like Miami have of course they have good galleries, but it's not like they have tons of them.
Right. And if the art fair left, that would be a major blow.
Then start of December in Miami would be pretty boring, yes.
But do you chalk up the quality of Danish museums, for example, to the role of the state in supporting it? Do you think that plays a pretty big part of it, or do you think it's more individual drive of visionaries, directors?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that the quality is really good, and of course it's because the people who runs the different museums, they know what's good and they want to take chances and do stuff. Like again, Ast, they really show like younger and really contemporary and really artists, like rising stars, and they want to do stuff, and they didn't. Of course, they care but they also ready to take some chances to see, okay, let's fucking do it, and they do it, And then we can see some great shows, and then in like some years we can see, look at that 15 years ago, what we did. And as we also talked about, there's also some things that you don't mention because the expectation didn't live up to what happened, so.
Well, that's the nature of experimentation. You're not going to get anything great if you don't fall flat on your face sometimes too.
Exactly. So, you have to, on the way on your road in the life, you also have to jump some bumps in the road. It's just not living the fast way on the highway on the left side of the road all the way.
Yeah. You mentioned you have a lot of work by American artists. Do you have a special relationship to the U.S.?
It's my favorite country, and I just love it. The energy, everything. And when you go to New York, you can see so many things, and it's like, I feel when I'm in New York, I can like sleep 5 hours and I have energy for like 19 hours. And
it's a powerful place.
Yeah, and it's a dangerous place as well because it can take all the energy out of people. If you,
it'll chew you up and spit you out for sure.
Exactly, and it's a hard city if you don't have money to live in.
Oh yeah,
you use, even if you take the metro to get around, then it's you use time, and it's just expensive, Yeah. And you have to do so much stuff all the time. Then you have to see friends, museums, collections. Then you have to go visit artists. It's like, for me, New York, it's pretty hectic. It's like the program is just, okay, start at 8 o'clock, goes up to like 10. And then it's like, okay, go to the hotel and then just like say, look, how's the day? And then get a late dinner and then like go to bed. And then 6 o'clock you're up again. Then it's 12 o'clock in Denmark, do a little email, see if there's anything, and then from 8 o'clock, if you have to start early, if you have to go to Bronx, Harlem, then, then you have to take train to get there, and you use like half an hour, 45 minutes, and
sure.
If you want to be there 9, then you have to leave the house 8-ish to get up and get the day, something out of the day. So if you can go to Harlem, Bronx, whatever, and then you need to go into the city or back to Brooklyn, then you can do a lot of stuff instead of like sleep long and then get up, blah, 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 and then the days go. Of course, some artists, there's also night birds and not early birds.
Do you go there a lot?
Yeah, last year I was in New York 4 times and LA once. So,
yeah.
I love the States.
Have you ever lived there?
For 3 months, not more than that.
Yeah. Do you ever consider it?
I would still love to move to New York. I think it's...
Speaking of money, oh my God.
Yeah. And, to find out what you should do, of course you should. Before you move, you should
have a little business plan there.
Yeah, but I would love to live in New York. I think it's an amazing city.
Well, it is overwhelming. I had an art teacher. I went to school for a month in LA in a program there who was from New York and was in LA because he had, according to him, unfortunately married a woman from Los Angeles and had a kid and stuff. And he was always like, fucking LA, the traffic, shitty, And he said to us, he was like, just look, you look at New York. It's like man challenged the gods and he won. You look at LA, it's like man challenged the gods and he lost. And I like both cities. I'm not from either, so I don't really have a dog in this fight. But he has a point. Manhattan has to be one of the craziest goddamn places on earth.
Yeah, but still, I think when you are at Manhattan, it's of course, there's traffic, a lot of things goes on, but, it's like, you can still just go around the corner, walk some few blocks, and then you can be out of everything.
Right.
Of course, if you're at Times Square or Fifth Avenue, it's something else,
That's the thing. There's everything on this tiny little island.
Exactly, but it's also like you can also quick get out of it.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to walk like 3 hours to get out of it. You can just like 2-3 blocks, bang, you're out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's varied. It's very varied. I lived in Chicago for 5 years. It's also a great city.
I've heard. I've never been.
It's actually really nice. It's nice. It has that Aarhus thing. It has that underdog. Every time someone gets great, they leave. God damn it, kind of thing. And so you have a lot of like artist-run spaces and kind of a punk rock mentality to it. But they do have the brain drain. Every time something gets or someone gets some success or whatever, they usually move to New York or LA.
Yeah.
Everyone I went to school with doesn't live in Chicago anymore.
Archie Johnson, Robert Davis, they are both from Chicago. Maximilian Schubert, they moved from Chicago to New York.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Because it's a big city. It's 8 million people, so there's a lot of art there. But back to the collection here. I kind of awkwardly talked earlier about the role of collectors in Denmark and how maybe they don't have, in my naive American eyes, as much of a role here in Denmark. But you mentioned shortly that you thought they did have kind of a powerful, not powerful, but an important role here. Do you see that as more like a guiding force for popular opinion in the art world, or like a supporting role, or what do you see it as?
Yeah, everywhere collectors have power, and collectors in Denmark have powers and can have power, but it's not like it's used in the same way like a lot of somewhere else. I don't feel like if like 10 collectors buy the same pieces, like the collectors want to bring the artist like ahead. It's more like the artists or the collectors do it because of the art, not because of the money.
Yeah.
And that's very important. Like a lot of places in the States, it's like 15, 20 of the biggest collectors buy a piece, and then they all just wanted to expand and the pieces to raise value in like half an hour. So they all of them like push it and talk about it, and then like everybody wants it, and then it's from one day to another day. The artist was drinking water and eating bread, and the next day he's living on a 3-star Michelin restaurant. It's
the Oscar Murillo.
Oscar Murillo actually have a talent. I couldn't even mention other artists, which I don't think have a talent, but was just brought up. I think Oscar have a huge talent. He deserved it, but
but it happened so fast. It's that thing you're talking about, where like all of a sudden, boom.
I remember, but still, he's a great artist, and the pieces he's done is deserved. You can take like, I don't know how many hundreds artists who I don't think personally did anything more than just was a hype.
All right, let's name them 1 to 100.
That's kind of rude, so no, I'm not going to. You could imagine yourself.
Yeah, no, we all have that list. That's I think part and parcel for the game.
Exactly.
The nice thing is that it's a lot less one directional now. That there is corners and areas, and fuck those guys over there. But we also have our face. There is that, like, it's more open now. There's more areas. There's more fields. There's more directions. It's all kind of going in different ways. Which is nice, because that gives people who you don't necessarily like, or even worse, back in the day when nobody you liked was making it. But what do you think? Do you see any of what you do as an investment?
No, it's a passion of art, and because I love it.
Because it's really gone inflation investment in the art market. That's really at the top end, but when things get to a certain point, it becomes super heated. Is that a problem for you?
No, it's not a problem. You can just look at it and don't pay attention to it. It's, if I buy an artist and I like it, I like the quality of the art, and it's what everybody else do is none of my business.
Yeah.
Simple.
Do you show your collection ever?
Yeah, I have showed a part of my collection, different, like 2 years ago at Mongrupphus, a part of my collection was there. And I curated a huge graffiti show in 2012 at Kunsten at Aalborg also. A lot of my graffiti stuff was there. So, and then I have pieces nearly all the time going around different museums in the world.
I guess you get requests a lot for work to be shown.
It happens.
Because if you get to be known as a person who owns works of a significant stature, then people want to borrow it for shows.
That's correct.
Do you enjoy that?
Yeah, I love it. I love that the
being
pieces,
part of that.
The pieces, somebody else can see them. They're not just at storage or sitting at my house.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, and I think you have a very healthy attitude towards it, because a lot of people do. It seems like it's really split now. There's the collectors who do it for status and money, and there's the collectors who do it because they just fucking love it, and they can't stop. They don't even have a choice, really.
Exactly.
And one of them is a lot more fun to work with than the other.
Hopefully, yes.
Are you part of the Danish Collectors Union?
No, I used to be, but it was too much a kindergarten, so
a lot of adult meowing.
I lived in good standing, and no, it was too much for me.
Yeah, because there is some of that prestige with that group. The whole like, God damn it, look, I have all this money. Look what I can do. Look what I can afford. They get together to show off their collections to each other, etc.
Yeah, it's all about the size. It's if you have a huge one, you don't need to show it around. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
So yeah, if they want to play around and say they have a huge one, it's fine by me. I know the truth.
Yeah, you know about their small ones.
Exactly.
What about, you run this blog, which is actually a great resource. What's the name of the Brask Art blog?
Braskart.com.
Yeah. In which you do a lot of, mostly studio visits, as far as I can tell.
Studio visits and a lot of, I take a lot of pictures at graffiti. Mm-hmm. And I take all the pictures myself, and I just post them on the blog.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you do that for you mostly, or what?
I just do it by myself because, as well, I like to take pictures, and I like to show, graffiti. I still love graffiti, so I take pictures from associates from artist studios and trains or graffiti walls, whatever, and I post openings and pictures from openings. What I think is fun.
Mm. Yeah, because there's nothing else like it, as far as I know, around here in Denmark.
No, there's a lot of blogs was like either it's graffiti or like fine art, but
yeah, or like interviews, critical interviews and discussions with artists.
Yeah, I don't really do that, and I don't like if there's a book lounge, I don't post it. It's like it has to be an opening with art.
Yeah,
either a gallery, museum, or something else, and then pictures I take. If I go to Barcelona and think there's a lot of great street art, then I can post it.
It's all about the picture.
Exactly.
What about the book? So you made this handsome book, which is also the studio visits.
Exactly.
And that thing's everywhere.
It's around.
It's around, yeah. And it looks good. Those are really nice photos. Did you take all those too?
Yes, thank you. I took all the photos. It is like a part of the book, like I did everything. So it's like my project.
Hats off, sir. They look good.
Thank you.
But what was the impetus with that book? Was that also just kind of sharing?
Sharing, and I have the opportunity, and I can go to a lot of studio, and I wanted to show people how it is and how the artist works, and people who don't have the same possibilities to go to studios like I have. I was just like, I want to show, and I think it was be fun to see like some studios are really clean, some are messy, and the variation of the studios. And there's a Morten Knudsen, Danish guy. He's at the third year at the Academy in Copenhagen, and then there's like Julian Snabel, who's not a young cat anymore, like a huge star. And you have.
And you went to New York, John Copeland, and
exactly Wes Lang, Eddie Martinez, Peter Dimas, Maximilian Schubert, Robert Davis, Joyce Penzance, so you name it. There's like 7 Danish artists, 3 from Britain, and 30 American artists.
I mean, I assume that it's not a good business proposition to make a book like that.
It's not.
You don't.
You don't make you don't make any money of doing a book like that. So no.
What is it about a studio visit that's so interesting to you?
It's intense, and it's like it's more than going home to people's private home. It's a
look behind the curtain.
Exactly, and the artist also have to like you, and you can get a studio visit, but if you've been there a lot of time and the artist likes you, then you can actually see when the artists are painting.
You can see some unfinished.
Yeah, and you can see, a lot of the artists, I've been there for like hours, so they have been painting when I've been there. And, I've seen a white canvas turned into a piece of art, and that piece of art can be in a museum now. So it's pretty amazing, and that's a lot about the book, like documentation is showing. Like you said, John Copeland, he was actually painting. I've seen his studio, I don't know, like 50, 60, 100 times, a lot of times. And one of the pictures in the book, he's actually painting when I'm there. So I was like really close, sneaking in with the camera. And he was like, he didn't care, he was just like painting.
Yeah, I would say that's probably fairly rare, because there's nothing worse than showing unfinished work, because it's just not there yet, and
I know, but then, the artists also know, like you talked about, if you were going to post anything on Instagram or the blogs, you talk about, they say like, please post that, and of course you don't do it, and if they know they can trust you, then you have them.
You have that access.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it seems to me like that's one of the big interests you have is access. And I don't mean access in the bad way. I don't mean that in the VIP way.
No.
I mean access in an interest, in an exploration of art making, whether it's graffiti, whether it's painting, just watching it happen.
Yeah. You're there when it happens.
Do you see that in final artworks that you buy? Do you see the process in it? Or do you see that more as the end line?
I see it in like when it's done deal.
Yeah. What about, you have this collection of about 500 artworks. Do you have any favorites? Do you have like a special relationship to any of them?
I have to all of them. It's like kids, all of them. It's like you don't love one more than another. You love them all, and maybe some days it's like one piece, and the other day it's another piece.
What are you excited about right now? What's out there right now, which is catching your eye?
I think a lot of stuff. Like there's not like I have any like new really, but I think there's like a lot of good stuff going on. Still like a lot of good classics. I still love and like and look at it. It's a good variation.
Are you paying attention to young up and coming artists too?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, really. Love the young and up and coming. That's really emerging artist.
Why is that, do you think?
I still think it's very nice to see them when they're young and support them and be there instead of it's. Of course, Talia is still happy when he sells paintings, but he can still sleep tonight if I don't buy a painting by him. But some of the young artists, they, can actually.
They might be able to pay rent that month.
Exactly, and they maybe don't have to go to a cafe and serve cafe lattes instead of pay attention to the artwork in the studio.
Boy, isn't that the truth? It's always a question of time, right?
Exactly.
Whether you have a lot of it or, it kind of reminded me of the artist's life when you were talking about being in New York and having that day where it's like, you have to hustle, and it's almost no matter what.
It is a hustle. Every day is a hustle.
Do you have a hard time keeping the energy up, or is it...
No, not a problem at all.
I think that's one of the big differences. Almost every guest we've ever had on this show has been people who like the hustle. They like to get up in the morning and fucking go for it,
Exactly, you have to do it. That's the part of the game.
Well, what's next? Are you just going to keep going, or you got any big plans?
I'm working on the book number 2, Studio Visit number 2, and...
Is that just more of the same, more of the good stuff, or are you doing something a little different this time?
It's 40 new artists.
Okay.
And, I think like I've been taking the pictures the last year. So I think I need like a couple of more artists, and then I'm ready to go to my designer, and we have to make the book.
It's fun making books. It's a lot of fucking work, but
it's really nice.
Yeah,
but it is quite a job to do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate
You're welcome.
it.
Thanks for the invitation.
I have one final question for you. Do you have any? It's a terrible question, but I have to ask it sometimes.
I can see the one to answer.
What do you think the point of art is? What's it all for?
It's about that we have to learn and listen, and we have to. I think it's very important that we learn something and we get inspired of the art in one way or another way. So it can be like you can get inspired now or later, or you can see it now, or maybe you see it later. But it gives us something, even if we pass the street art on the street, graffiti, or go to museums, it gives us something. And most important, it gives something to talk about. So artists, you talk and make conversation.
That's a good one, actually. That's the whole reason this show exists.
Exactly. It's conversation.
Cool, man. Thanks a bunch.
You're welcome.
All right, that was Jens Peter Brask. Be sure to check out his website. There'll be a link to that on the show notes for this episode, and you can catch him out there taking pictures of trains. All right, thank you for listening to this episode of the Undergang Armchair. Intro and outro music was kindly provided by Johnny Ripper, and today's interstitial music was provided by Saberlike. You can find links to their music and tons of other conversations with great people on our train bombing of a website, undergang.net. This show is produced in part with the kind support of the Danish Arts Council. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful Easter.